Hello, my friend Ron Susek here. Really glad you're with me today because for many, many years, what we call historians who are not Christian writers, they call them profane historians, but also Christian historians. Most of them have given Assyria a bad rap. Why? Well, they went down and took out the top 10 tribes of Israel. What a horrible thing. However, the thing that I want you to see today, I want you to look at the Assyrian people through the eyes of God. This is not imagination. I'm taking you into the Bible. We're going to go through Ezekiel chapter 31. It's so full and rich, it's going to take us 2 programs to do it. So stay with me this week and next week. But we are going to look at Assyria through the eyes of God. What did he and what does he think of them? Now keep in mind, he thought so much of them because they are the work of his hands that he is actually going to use them in the end time. We'll be seeing that in the days ahead. We've been talking about that all along. But right now, today, I want you to look at Assyria through the eyes of God. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Finding and knowing God is a faith walk. The Bible says that without faith, it is impossible to please God. Our hope lies in the coming Messiah, who will establish God's peaceful kingdom on earth. This is Faith Walk with Ron Susek. Dr. Ron is an evangelist committed to encourage and equip your faith walk as we pass through these turbulent end-time days, awaiting that soon-coming kingdom. Here again is Ron Susek.
Well, let me just begin by thanking you for making me feel so at home, so accepted. Above all, thank you for opening your minds and hearts to something new. Because quite often when you bring something that God has shown you and is new, it takes people a long time to say, well, I'll think about it. But I sense that you're really buying into it because you see it biblically. And we're going to have a fast growth spurt across the nation and around the world because it appears to be we're coming into the time when God is going to move into this phase of the prophecy. There are a number of more phases to come. Egypt, in the first 22 verses of Isaiah 19, the same chapter that our prophecy is in, God tells how he's going to deal with Egypt because 2,000 years ago, Egypt was 90% Christian and 10% pagan. 700 years later, Islam came with a sword and reversed that by murder. And now they are about 80% Muslim and 10% Coptic Christian. Coptic is a language, but they call them Coptic Christians. And the persecutions going on in Egypt are absolutely godless. And God's going to deal with it, and he tells you how in the first 22 verses of Isaiah chapter 19. We're going to be looking at those parts. We're not going to look at the prophecy tonight. We've done that twice already. But I'm going to go into another section. But first, I had a pleasant thing happen today when I got to my room. I was talking with Sabro Bengaro. And he is I mentioned him in my book, he is the first Assyrian to trust me that I'm not there to use them, but to serve them. And we become very close friends. He was born in Turkey, and when things got deadly dangerous for him and his family, he changed his name to Sabri Atman, which is a Muslim name. And then when he finally was able to be in a land of safety, he went back to his original family name, Sabro Bengaro. And he's in his 50s. He's a brilliant man, and he's been a phenomenal voice. He has opened 7 Sappho centers around the world. Sappho in Aramaic means sword. Every Assyrian knows what the word means. And what they are doing is they are going to governments to show them what has happened and to try to get governments to simply say, we honor that, we will stand behind that. And I think they have 7 or 8 states in America that have already written from their state legislatures a statement of affirming the Assyrian people, not getting them home, just affirming that they understand who they are. And Sabro, we've done a lot of work together. He's a great asset to my ministry. And when I met him, I also met a man named David Lazar. David Lazar was an activist who pounded on the doors of the UN many times and went to D.C. many times, got no place because, as I told you the other day, these people tend to invite you in their office, give you coffee or tea, smile, get out their pencil and pad, take notes of everything you say, escort you out the door, drop the notes in the waste can, and forget you were ever there. That's the way it goes in the UN and in D.C. And but this David Lazar was a very committed Assyrian and very defensive of his people in their homeland who were being persecuted. And I don't know if you'll remember this. You saw this on television, but you probably forgot it by now, when suddenly there were Assyrians running up a mountain, and they were being chased by ISIS that wanted to slaughter them all. And one man had a cell phone store, and he grabbed a bunch of cell phones, threw them in his pocket, and they just had to run. And it was freezing up there. They didn't even have time to put coats on, anything. They just had to run. So they're running up this mountain, and he calls David Lazar, who was in California. And David Lazar said, "You're out of breath. What's going on? ISIS is right behind us. We got to keep moving, but we need help." And David Lazar this was under the Bush administration, by the way, and David Lazar was in touch, it was right after Bush, and he was still in touch with one of the ladies who worked under Bush, who was highly connected. This is in the middle of the night, our time. Calls her, tells her the situation, and in 10 minutes, she had one of our jets off the runway with supplies. Do you remember the story? You saw it on the news. You probably forgot it. And sadly, the pilot had the wrong direction, and they dropped that in the wrong place. They had to go back and repeat it, but they survived that escape. That's the world they lived in. And David Lazar gave me some of the finest books I used in my research. Just today, when I was in my room, I was talking to Sabro, and he said, "Ron," I'm not Ron, I'm Ron. And by the way, my wife is a singer trained in classical music and all the rest, and she can't roll her R's, and I can. That's not fair, isn't it? Because she's supposed to be able to go, "Regitor." No, she can't. I can. And but she preaches better than me, so at least at home. And but David and his wife have a son and a daughter. David died suddenly, unexplainably, very strange. It's in my book. I dedicated the book to him, and the story of his death is in my book. And David's daughter recently had a trip to Iraq. And so Sabri interviewed her, and it's about a 10-minute long interview, but it'll give you a flavor of how passionate they are to go home. So her name is Tiamat, and interviewing her is Sabro Bengaro. Okay, run it.
Hi everyone, this is Sabro Bengaro, and I am here with Tiamat Lazar. Today we are going to talk with her about her very first visit to our homeland, Assyria. Good to be with you, Tiamat.
Thank you.
Before we begin, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Tiamat Lazar. I'm a 20-year-old college student studying international relations and political science with the hopes of going to law school in the future. I'm born and raised in California, and this last April, I made my very first visit to Atra for Khab Nisan.
What was the process like? How did you decide to go and visit Assyria?
I think for me, I always have wanted to go, and it was something that seemed to be very far out of reach. It didn't seem something attainable for the average person to go, and I couldn't have been more wrong. It was an amazing experience, and the process was not hard. I went with an organization. I went with Gishru. So I applied, I did an interview, and I was admitted, and I couldn't be more thankful.
Very good. What did you know about the homeland before you visit, and how does that compare to your experience now?
I knew, I think, a good amount about our homeland. I grew up with parents who were very Umtanaya, and I was always in that was always a huge part of my life, a huge aspect of my life. So for me, it was very emotional and very touching to see places that either I've sang songs about or I've seen my parents work so hard towards, and just seeing everything come to life was very surreal for me. And to compare it to the things I knew before, honestly, what I experienced was even better than what I knew before and what I thought I was going to experience.
Good. How people are in Assyria? How are they?
Amazing. I think living in diaspora, we all have this false, I guess, narrative, of people that live in Assyria, that they want to leave, that their life there isn't good. All these things that we think that they don't want to be there. But in my experience, and I think a lot of the people that I was with as well, we were under the impression that so many people there don't want to leave. They told us that we need to help them not to leave Atra, but we need to help them to make sure that they stay in Atra. So it was amazing. No one there, everyone that I had spoken to during my trip, whether it be youth who are 16, 17 years old to 70, 80-year-old people, none of them wanted to leave. They either said, I'll be the last person here. I don't care. I will not leave here. So it was very moving. And I think that's one of the things that we don't realize living in diaspora is our people are happy there. They don't want to leave there. They want to stay there. They are the backbone of our people. And it was very moving.
Excellent. Did you visit the area where the Simele massacre took place? Do you have any suggestion for the Seifo Center or for our community regarding the Simele Memorial?
Yes, so I did go see the Simele massacre. We were there and, again, deeply moved by what I had saw. It's very disheartening to see both the federal Iraqi government and the Kurdish regional government deny that this massacre had even happened. When we went to the memorial site, there was nothing there. You go and it's all dirt. And previously, before we had gone, they've been cleaning it the last few years, but I heard that you would see people's bones sticking out from the ground, and the government will go and they'll remove the bodies and they won't give them a proper burial or proper service, I guess. And it's sad to see that our people there suffer so much. They suffer from 1933 to 2025. They're still suffering, even though they've passed away. They haven't been put to rest. And I think one of the things that Seifo Center or any Assyrian organization could work to do is building a proper memorial for our people and making sure that their bodies are resting peacefully. When I was there, there was a little plaque that had an Assyrian flag, and it just said the 1933 Simele massacre. However, maybe it would be nice if there were trees planted or a bigger monument so that we don't forget that these atrocities have happened to us and they continue to happen to us. Whether it be on the same scale or not, they're still happening.
Very good suggestion, Tiamat. Thank you for that. Was there any experiences that deeply moved you while you were in Afra?
100%. Every village that we had gone to, we had spoken to somebody there. And when we were in, I think it was Sersing, there was a man under the name Rabbi Yosef Semele, and his speech moved me drastically. And
What did he say?
he was very powerful with the way he spoke, the tone of his voice. He was not scared at all. And none of the people there are scared at all. All of them are very powerful. All of them are brave, you know? But for me, his speech really stood out to me because, again, he was like, we're the original people of this land. We are not leaving. They can do anything to try to make us leave, and we will not leave. So he had spoke probably 20, 30 minutes, and half of my group was in tears. Half of us, I think that was the day that all of us were like, we need to do something. We need to be the change that we want to see. Our people here are suffering. We need to do something. We live in diaspora. We are very fortunate that we have power, and our people there don't have the power to speak for themselves. So after that speech, I think it was very much a turning point where we all realized that we need to be the change that we wish to see in Atra.
If you talk direct to Rabbi Yosef Semele, what would you tell him now?
I would tell him that I am honored that I was there to hear how powerful and how brave he is. I would thank him for everything that he's done. I would thank him and everyone that still lives in Atra for staying there and not leaving. I think that's one of the most courageous things you can do is be continuously subjected to persecution, to land grabbing, to all these horrible things that we know our people go through, and to stay strong and to not leave. And I would tell him that I'm very thankful that I got to hear his speech.
Yeah, Tiamet, would you recommend youth, people to visit our homeland, Assyria?
Definitely, especially youth. I think Assyrians born in diaspora, young Assyrians, were very disconnected from our land, even though there will always be a connection with us. We're from there. When I went there, the second our plane landed, it was the most overwhelming feeling that you're just finally home. Like your soul has been longing for this for so long, and you finally made it, and it's like a sense of relief, you know? Yeah. So I would recommend everybody to visit Atra. I would especially recommend youth to visit Atra. I think it'll definitely change the trajectory of your life. And even if you go and you come back and you're not wanting to do humanitarian work or join organizations, it'll change something inside of you where you'll see your people and, like, I don't even know how to say it in English, but like your blood gets warm, you know, you're happy to see your people. You don't even know any of the people that you met, and just seeing them, you're happy to be with them, you know?
Excellent.
And especially living in Los Angeles, I think we have a great Assyrian community here. However, we're so spread apart, and we'll gather for our picnics or our parties, and it's amazing. However, being there and being with your people, and like we'd be walking in the streets and you would hear Assyrian, like you'd hear your mother language and people speaking it. And at least in Los Angeles, when I hear Assyrian, I'll turn around, I'll look to see who it is, and it's one of our neighbors or a family friend, and it's amazing. But there it's something I can't even explain.
Yeah,
to be with your own people.
My final question, Tiamet, do you have hope for the future?
Yes, I do. And I think the more people that go and visit, the more hope I have, because something inside of you just sparks. It's like a switch. The second you get there, for me, I want to just dedicate everything, you know? So I do have hope for the future. I think the more people that go and experience and see where they're from, the more hope I have, because something will enlighten you. And I hope that whoever visits, that lightning sparks something and you work towards a better future for all of us, for Assyrians in diaspora, Assyrians in the homeland, and making sure that we still have a presence in Atra.
Good, Tiamet. One more thing, Tiamet.
Yes.
Please, you know, we have two Assyrian dialects, Eastern dialect and Western dialect.
Okay.
Would you tell us something in East dialect and then in West dialect, please? Let's start with East dialect, the dialect you speak first.
Okay. Awitun Rababa Simi Kulnashet Pishatun Gu Atran or Tedvirochon Atran.
Yeah, very
So
good.
thank you very much for all the people who stay there and who have maintained our land. And then in the Western dialects,
Who say?
you say Fulikto Ainale, Uligmata Ainale, Tihe Amo Otoroyo Serioyo.
Can you imagine what will happen to that young lady when we tell her the president signed an executive order and thousands just like her? These people want to go home. I want to share with you tonight a little bit, and we'll be short and take questions, but I want to show you God's view of the Assyrians, which is the opposite of the view of many historians and many Bible teachers who have cursed them, that they are bad people. And we saw this morning, it was not their choice that they decided, let's get down and wipe out the 10 tribes of Israel. God sent them. God raised them up and sent them. Now, it's interesting that there's a man named Ezekiel, and Ezekiel would naturally be a man to hate the Jews because he was now in diaspora. He was now in captivity because of the Assyrians. So if anyone should sound bitter, it would be Ezekiel. I'm saying that, let that really sink in, because what you're going to see God say through Ezekiel is even stronger when you realize that Ezekiel, as a natural man, would be saying the opposite. He would want to be lambasting them and really putting them down. But in Ezekiel chapter 31, if you have your Bible, turn there. In Ezekiel chapter 31, Ezekiel in 587 BC, that's the dating where he was in captivity. And during those days, from 587 to 597, Ezekiel is living beside a river. And he's working, he's in southern Iraq under Babylon, okay? And God comes to him and gives him a revelation that I don't know why we missed it. A whole chapter, and I don't know of anyone, I've never seen anyone treat this chapter, and we have not preached sermons on it, excuse me. But it's an incredible insight into God's view of the Assyrians. Personally, I do not know of a history book in existence apart from the Bible that doesn't have bias in it. And so anytime you're reading a history book, you're reading the interpretation of the writer. You're not necessarily getting inside of the heart of the people. God speaks truth, whether it's fun or not. So we can trust what we're about to see in Ezekiel 31 as absolute history of God's opinion of the Assyrians. Ezekiel 31, verse 1, in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, say to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to his multitude, who are you like in your greatness? In other words, God is giving a warning to Egypt. And he's going to use Assyria, who he brought down, as the basis of his warning to Egypt. Behold, Assyria was a cedar in Lebanon with beautiful branches and forest shade, and of towering height. In other words, she was the biggest empire in existence. Its top among the clouds, or another way that's translated, its top went through the thick clouds. Now, Assyria, and I'm stopping there for a moment, Assyria was the first great empire in world history. She migrated to the region of the Garden of Eden under Ashur, which we talked about this morning. from family to city to nation to empire. She began as a family, the family of Asher, then became the city of Asher, then it became the nation of Asher, and eventually Assyria, the empire. And she invented iron, which is how she became the greatest military at that time. She built a mighty army and eventually drifted from God, the God of Noah, to pagan gods. What nation hasn't done that? America has done that. Israel has done that. Every nation. Drift is so normal. And I don't mean that as a compliment. It is so normal that the whole book of Hebrews is written to Jews who were drifting. And while they're drifting away up to 70 AD because of the persecution, the Assyrians are rising up as this mighty empire. The empire was over now. They're rising up as believers in Jesus Christ to become the greatest voice of the gospel I have ever read about in world history. So then in verse 4, now watch this. This is how they treated the nations they conquered. The waters nourished it, the deep made it grow tall, making its rivers flow around the place of its planting, sending forth its streams to all the trees of the field. When nations conquer another nation, what do? They are extracting from them. Assyria conquered nations and gave to them. It's right there. God's opinion of them. They were the foundation of the cradle of civilization. We talked about that. They invented everything from aqueducts to the wheel to you name it. They invented the common house key that you turn every day at your house. They invented all of this stuff. And when they conquered a nation, that nation was probably in shambles. They gave them the waters. They gave them their substance and what they need. They taught them, they trained them, they educated them, and they helped them.
Now, Dr. Ron has been talking to us about the end time days and wants us to prepare for the coming kingdom. And he has written a book titled The Assyrian Prophecy that is a missing part of the end times puzzle.
And he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. Write, for these words are true and faithful. The world is not ending. God is preparing a new world soon to begin. Amid today's chaos, God is searching for righteous people through whom He will bring the prophecy to completion. When you reach the end of this book, one question will be in your mind. Lord, what would you have me to do?
You can learn more at theassyrianproject.org. Well, thanks for being with us today, and we hope you'll join us again next week as we find courage for the journey in our faith walk.